I work from home. Job student करता हूँ. Yes,
बड़ी करानी है उसको।
चल ले आई रख लिया, बनाना नहीं बनाना तुम।
हाँ बना लेंगे, अपने खा लेंगे छुट्टी में। अंदर के
सबके दे आती है वो ऐसी चार
जिससे प्यार मोहब्बत है। और खतरा पैसा होगा। ट्यूशन आसान उसी में करते रहो, पढ़ते भी नहीं। जिससे घर चलता है आदमी का।
शांति से चलता है, बुद्धि की कोई जरूरत नहीं, आराम से खाओ, आदत होती है कई लोगों की। प्रियंका गांधी सुन प्रियंका गांधी भी कह रही बनेगी।
So good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
नातिन का इंदिरा गांधी कहना तो करेगी।
Hello. I am audible, ma'am.
नानी दादी का देखते हैं।
सब तो आएगा।
कुछ नहीं।
चुप जरा।
Hello. Okay. So good afternoon to all of you, and I heartily welcome to all the participants here. I, Dr. Shilpi Chauhan, Secretary of Section Society, Chapter Rajasthan from India, and here we are to discuss on how to achieve green environment. And I heartily welcome to our speaker of this day, Dr. Aparna Parikh ma'am, and our chief guest, Dr. Papu Sulu, and our president, Mr. Rajendra Kumar Singh. So before no wasting time, ma'am, I would like to invite you to share your opinion on how to achieve green environment. Ma'am, please share slide website. Ma'am, request you please unmute your microphone. Yes.
Am I audible? Am I audible, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
Just a second, ma'am.
No.
मैम ये कोई जहाँ है, इन्हें आप बोलिए एक बार अनम्यूट हुए ये। Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you are on. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Can I start now?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
और इसमें काम 4 लाख रुपए में काम पहले।
Ma'am, please let me share my screen. Ma'am, please allow me to share my screen.
Okay, ma'am, please.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, please try. Yes, sir, it's visible.
Just a second, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Ma'am, now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Shilpi for giving me an opportunity to speak on a very important and burning topic in the present scenario, like the ways and means to achieve the green environment. Because in the present scenario, we all are very much aware with the fact that this current pandemic has taught us, like it has given a message that every crisis gives us an opportunity to grow. So it has given us a message like to how we should conserve and the importance of conservation in the present scenario, because the population on one side, it is increasing day by day and the resources, they are being depleted. So we have attempted, or we have made an attempt, we are at present working in this area where we are conserving some of the plants of Rajasthan, which are facing the danger of extinction due to their over exploitation, and we are trying our level best to conserve such plants and also look towards their medicinal importance. So the talk today is on the various biotechnological approaches for the conservation of these plants and the possible evaluation of their therapeutic applications. So
Sanu.
these plants are very much important because they cater to the various health ailments of the human beings, and these plants also keep an importance in curing various health ailments of the people. So the tribals which are residing in the various regions of Rajasthan, these tribals are using these plants in curing these health ailments, so they are over exploiting these plants. I'm just trying to switch on to the next slide. So these plants, they are catering to various medical issues, like in the fever, the diarrhea, having the diabetes, the cancer. So these plants, they are occupying an important place in the life of the tribals. So these tribal peoples, they are very much like inhibition. They are showing the inhibition behavior. So this behavior is not allowing this information about these medicinal plants to pass from one generation to next generation.
Ma'am,
Yes,
sorry
ma'am?
for disturb, ma'am. Please change your slide. Slide is not visible.
Okay, ma'am. Just wait, ma'am.
আমাকে একটা পিপিটি সিলেক্ট করে দে মোড, আমি এইটা জাস্ট আমাকে 3-4টে স্লাইড আমি প্রিপেয়ার করব, হেডিং হবে এনভায়রনমেন্ট, সেগুলো করে ফেলেছি কিন্তু আমি এখানে লিখতে পাচ্ছি না কেন।
কেন কি টাইটেলটা এখানে?
আচ্ছা, ওখানে লেখাই যাবে না?
না, if you want to change that, change the design.
একটা ডিজাইন চুজ করব।
मत कर, इतना ही कर दे।
ব্ল্যাঙ্ক প্রেজেন্টেশনে করো না,
একটু এফেক্টস ভালো লাগবে না?
তো ওটা তো এখানেও দিতে পারো।
এটা করে দে সেট।
And now the next slide is visible.
শাট করিস না।
না, না,
তোকে ইয়ে দিয়ে দেবো, কভার করে দিই। কেন কর্মটা
Shilpi ma'am,
থাকতে
the
তো
next
বলিস।
slide is
Yes,
visible.
ma'am.
দাদা গিয়ে দাও।
Okay,
Yes, ma'am,
okay,
it's
ma'am.
visible.
So we have tried to
ও
like
যা যা করছে
address
করতে দে,
the
আমি আমারটা
research
বানিয়ে ফেলি।
problem, a basic burning issue of the society, because in India we see that these plants in the indigenous system of medicine, but due to their over exploitation they are extinct or they are at the verge of extinction, because these tribal peoples are using these medicinally important plants in curing their health ailment, but there is no systematic documentation of this information because they are very inhibition, they are showing their inhibition behavior, so they are not passing on this generation from to one generation to other generation. So we have tried our attempt best to systematize this documentation of these medicinally important plants which are being used by the people in Rajasthan to cure various health ailments. So this documentation has been made, and the possible biodiversity losses, the causes for this biodiversity loss and the various strategies for their conservation was the problem which we had, which we are looking forward to. Now, this research will definitely be beneficial to many sectors of the society as far as the traditional use of this plant wealth has been attained, because it will definitely lead to the development of the tribals, and these type of studies will definitely throw some light on the plant products which are being present in these plants for the upliftment of the tribal communities, and also for the sustainable utilization, for the conservation of this biodiversity and the development, the socio-economic development of these tribals. So it will also be serving as a useful source for the chemist, the pharmacologist, the practitioner of this herbal medicines, because we all very well know that herbal medicine has played a very important role in the last some of the decades. So it will definitely also prove as a recognized tool in the search for some new pharmaceuticals. So when interacting with these tribals, because as I have already told you that they are very showing the inhibition behavior, so they are not at ease in sharing this knowledge about these important plants which are being used in curing the various health ailments. So we prepared like a structured questionnaire, we prepared that how to interact, and some local like headmen or the local people or their known was being taken for the sharing of this knowledge. So some of the important questions or like common question as to which plant is it, which form of the plant product you are using, in which form you are using in curing the various ailments, what is the plant it is used in the local name. So these were some of the important questions, like it is in the wild or the cultivated form, how this is being used, how often it is being used, what is its popularity, the status in that particular area. So these what is the seasonal availability of this plant. So these were some of the common questions which were being asked from these local inhabitants, and we came to a very important conclusion, like the parts of the plants which were used for curing these various ailments, they were used in various forms, like the leaves, the flowers, the stem, the root portion, the gums, the resins, they were used. But very surprisingly it was seen that leaves were the most like frequently used or the most important plant which was used for the curing of the health ailments. So like it gave us a conclusion that it is containing many phytoconstituents which are responsible for fighting these important deadly diseases. Then the effect and popularity of the plant was also seen. It was not like the plant which is used less in that particular area, it is showing more effect. It was like the plant which was popular, like it is used for curing many of the health ailments. Then some when we did this survey, it came into our knowledge that some of the plants are there which are rare, which are endangered, which are facing the danger of extinction. They are not safe in that particular area. So we made certain attempts to conserve these plants by means of the conservation practices. Like in the laboratory, we use the technique of plant tissue culture, where we have conserved some of the important plants which have faced the danger of extinction, where we have prepared the medium for the culture of such plants. We have taken the various explants for the micro propagation. Like we are increasing from a small part, we are culturing these plants, and then we are increasing the number of plants. Now the form of or the mode of administration in which these plant parts were taken, in the extract form, powder form, paste form. So it was seen that infusion was the most common part which was being used by these local people. It was the most common. So during this survey, which was made in the southeast part of the Rajasthan, we saw certain plants which were facing the danger of extinction. So we selected certain plants which were extinct or were being on the verge of extinction. We selected those plants, and now we are working on those plants. We are studying their phytochemical analysis. So in this table, you can see that there are many plants which were found in that particular region, and they are facing the danger of extinction. And these plants are so important that they are used in one or the other form in curing the various health ailments of these tribal or the indigenous or the local people which were being seen in that particular area. These are some of the plants where you can see that it is the Naranji granuluta, which is known as the Bilbaparni. We have all seen the bale patras, which are being used on in the month of Sawan to adorn the shivlings. But this is one form where you see that it is known as the Bilbaparni. And here you see that not the 3 leaves, you can see that many leaflets are there. And this is an important plant which is found in that particular region, but it is facing the danger of extinction because it is used in curing many of the health ailments. Here you can see the fruiting stage of this plant. Then this is the Jivanti. You can see the Leptadenia reticulata. It is the common form. The Google, you can see the Oleogum resin. It has got much importance. We all very well know. It is also critically endangered. These plants are also critically endangered in that particular area. The Equurus or the Vacha, you see in the Darra forest area. These are the tribal people, common tribal people found in that particular belt. They have this knowledge about these medicinally important plant. The you can see the Silestris paniculatus, the Malkangni, the Argyria, the Vriddaru, Curculego, Kalimusli, the Centella asiatica, Mandukparni. These all plants are having very much medicinal importance, and they are used in curing many health ailments of these people. So when we did the phytochemical analysis of these endangered medicinal plants, we saw that all these plants they are showing this medicinal property because they are having these active constituents which are present in these medicinal plants, like the alkaloids, the steroids, the glycosides, the flavonoids. These all were present. So a step further was taken to assess these antimicrobial activity, and we saw that these plants are also, they are having this antimicrobial activity. So we used certain microbes like the bacteria, the fungi, to assess their antimicrobial activity, and we came to the study resulted in the conclusion that these plant extracts, they are having these antimicrobial activities. So definitely they can be used further to maintain these cell lines for treating the deadly diseases like the diabetes, the cancer, etc. These plates, you can see the antimicrobial activity showing the zone of inhibition when we used certain bacteria and and the fungus to assess these antimicrobial activity. You can see this study was being made in many of the important, medicinally important plants. The Buchnania lengen, that is the kalonji, we see. Then Argyria, the Vridaru. Every plant is showing the antimicrobial activity. You can see in these particular slides. So when we saw these antimicrobial activity, that means there was some active constituent present in these plants. So an attempt was made to assess their antioxidant potential also, and it was seen that these plants showed the antioxidant potential, and the chemical constituents were present when we used various extracts of the ethanol and the methanol. We can see that these active constituents are present in these plants. I will just go through these slides because they all are having these active constituents which are present in these particular plants, like the alkaloids, flavonoids, the tannins, these all are present. So through this floristic survey, because we all know that these like when we are speaking about the ethnomedicinal plants, basically these are the plants which are used by the tribal or the indigenous people for curing their health ailments. So we are calling these as ethnomedicinal. Ethno is related to the ethnic or the tribes. So this southeast region of Rajasthan, that is the Hadoti region, was being surveyed, and these plants around, we could see around 240 plants which were though medicinally important, but on the basis of their existence in that particular area, we came to a conclusion that around 30 plants have been endangered or facing the danger of extinction. So now what we are doing the micro propagation studies on these particular plants for their conservation, to increase their number. Some of the plants, they are rare, so we are maintaining their germplasm. And we have made different formulations studying the antimicrobial activities, the anti-potential activities. So this is the work which we are doing at present to conserve these plants which are facing the danger of extinction.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Now, this session is open for all. If you have any query, I request all the participants. If you have any queries, you can ask any question to direct to the ma'am. Unmute your microphone.
Actually, this is one. This is one of the ways it means clean. And like when we speak of green environment, means we are very much worried about the conservation practices, about the conservation of nature, because we say it is green environment or friendly environment. So like we all should work together in this particular direction, because there are very ways and means to keep the environment clean and to keep the environment green. So we should all work together in this particular direction, because when we will not keep the environment green, we will not keep it clean, ultimately we are the sufferers.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to invite our chief guest, Dr. Okukudo. So now I would like to invite our Okusudo and heartily welcome, sir. Before starting his presentation, I would like to introduce about his. Dr. Okusudo, he senses is a wildlife management expert with unique expertise in ornithology. I have actually, he's not connecting with us due to some technical problem, so I am waiting for him. Please give me time. I need to. Actually, due to some technical issue, he is not connected with us right now. So now we are going to invite all other participants who want to share the presentation. Mr. Yeah, Dr. M.D. Mahmood, are you there, sir? Yeah, Dr. M.D. Mahmood, yeah, please unmute your mic and please start your presentation. Okay, so I think there is some connection issue right now. Yes, Usman, yeah. Invite you to present your PPT. Please share from your side.
Good evening, ma'am. Hello. Good evening, ma'am. Hello. Good evening, ma'am. Hello. Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. I think you are audible.
Ah.
Hello, Manchala, ma'am. You are
Yes,
sufficiently
please
audible.
start, but your PPT is not visible.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Please make me as a host so that I can share my PPT.
Yes, you can share.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Hmm.
Ma'am, give me some time so that I'll share. 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, Mansula, if you have any technical issue, so you can try after MD Mohammed. Actually, he is ready for presentation.
Ah, okay, ma'am. No problem.
Yeah, MD sir, please continue.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Please start.
Me, it is to start, madam.
Yes, sir. I share from my side. If it is
Okay.
visible, yes.
Yeah.
Start.
Okay, madam. Thank you very much. Welcome to all the past participants. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of the program for giving me such a nice opportunity to be a part of this beautiful international conference. Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Now, the very pertinent topic, a very pertinent theme of this international conference is that is relating to the green environment, and green environment is the need of the day. Now, my sub-theme is climate change, to which I am going to present before the august audience. Now, climate change, as it is well known, is caused by a change in the Earth's energy balance. Now, if there is an energy balance in the Earth's atmosphere, it resulted into the climate change. I mean to say that the solar radiations from the sun comes and enters into the Earth's atmosphere, and if its trapping increases much than the desired limit, then the heating takes place, and that results into the change of the atmosphere. However, its converse is also true. If the trapping or if the absorption of the IR radiation is not resulted or not done, then the entire atmosphere, rather the planet, will become a cold planet. So actually the balance is here, which plays a very important role. If there is a proper balance between the IR radiation which is radiated to the Earth and it is equally reflected back into the atmosphere, then balance is maintained and climate becomes a congenial place for living of the inhabitants over here. Now we all know that Industrial Revolution was a great thing in the history. And after the Industrial Revolution, much things were produced and came into the market. But at the same time, a large amount of greenhouse gases were also released into the atmosphere. Now we all know that these greenhouse gases are quite dangerous for the green environment, in the sense that these greenhouse gases very much absorb the IR radiations and that IR radiation, I mean heating radiations, remain trapped into the Earth's atmosphere, and as a result of that, the temperature increases, and when the temperature of the Earth's surface increases, then that results in changes of the atmospheric compositions, and that affects the living organisms living into the surroundings, living on the Earth's surface. Now, these greenhouse gases each have a different ability to trap heat known as global warming potential. That is, every gas has different potentials, and according to their potentials, these gases trap the amount of the IR radiations, and that IR radiation, that I mean to say infrared radiations, is radiated into the Earth atmosphere, and that acts as a climate active pollutant. It means if the more amount of IR radiations is retained here, then that changes the composition, and that composition actually affects the human beings to large extent. Now, the obvious question that we all know, but even then, arises that what are the reasons due to which these emissions are released into the atmosphere. Now, our day-to-day lives and burning of the coals and oils and gas produces carbon dioxide. And we all know that these carbon dioxide and many of the nitrous oxide are a very potent source of absorbing the IR radiations. So if the burning of coal and burning of the oils and gas which produces carbon dioxide is reduced in its consumption, then obviously the trapping will be less and heating will be less also. Cutting down, that is, deforestation is also one of the means for rising emissions. Increasing livestock farming and fertilizers containing nitrogenous produces nitrogen oxide, and fluorinated gases are emitted from the equipments and produces. And there are many more sources. Our lifestyles are also responsible for releasing of the greenhouse gases. For example, many of the gases which are used in the refrigerations or AC or etc. These are, when ACs are used, it releases the gas, and that gas goes into the atmosphere, and as a result of that, IR radiation is trapped. Now, there are very critical global environmental changes as a result of our living habits. So, for example, the temperature of the Earth's surface and the ocean increases a lot. Changes in the global water cycle also changes. Glaciers decline and snowpack decline. Sea level rise, ocean acidification takes place. Now, the obvious question is that why this happens? We all know that since the temperature rises, it affects the glaciers, and that melts, that goes into the sea and oceans, and their level rises. Now, also, similarly, what happens when the acid rains takes place, that goes into the oceans becomes acidified, and these are the different causes. Now, the obvious question is then how to overcome these effects. Now, there are two buckets under which we can control these climate change. One is called the mitigation. Mitigation is one of the phenomena where mitigation is a measure to reduce the amount and speed of the future climate change. That is, it is up to us how we are going to use and how we are going to reduce the speed of the future climate change. And obvious question is, it can only be done by reducing emissions of heat trapping gases. Now, heat trapping gases, it will be, if it is reduced drastically, then obviously the heat will be trapped less, and when the heat will be trapped less, then this atmosphere or this planet where we live will become a congenial for the coming generations also. Then obviously the mitigation is one of the most potent source to dependent upon the emissions or to reduce the emissions of the heat trapping gases. Similarly, there is another phenomena which is called adaptation. Now, adaptation is another phenomena which can be taken to reduce the harmful impacts of the climate change. So, for example, what happens when the beneficial opportunity adjustment, simply adjustment in the nature and human system, if we can adjust or adapt ourselves to the environment, then obviously it will be very beneficial for maintaining the environment green and clean. And there is another one that is called the resilience. Resilience means the capability to anticipate, prepare for, and respond to. Respond to what? Recover from significant threats with minimum damage. Obviously, damage will take place, but if we are in a position to reduce or minimize the damages to our well-being or the economy or the environment, then that can also be one of the beneficial steps. So obviously, we can say that if these measures are adopted by we human beings, then obviously this planet will be quite suitable for the coming generation to live in. Now, obviously, we have to change our lifestyles. We have to dependent upon the other means so that we can use this planet for a longer period of time. Now, some of the visual impacts which is the result of the climate change I am presenting, and that will make the scene very clear. Now, this is a melting glaciers which are showing how it was earlier and how when the greenhouse effect gases increases, then how it took their turns. Similarly, this is the rising sea levels. Rising sea level is again the ill effect of the trapping of the excessive IR radiation by the Earth atmosphere. When Earth atmosphere will trap, the IR radiation will be trapped, the glaciers will melt down, that will go into the oceans, that will go into the sea, their level rises. Similarly, this is the flooding is one of the cause. This is the increasing tornado. Nowadays, we are coming across different types of the tornadoes. These tornadoes are nothing but this is the effect of the ill effects of the trapping of the IR radiations and etc. Now, there is again another thing which is called drought. Drought, which is the less amount of water when goes into the earth, drought results. Now, these all are the phenomena which are the after effects of the trapping of the IR radiation. Now, it is wise enough to dependent upon the other means so that the maximum emission of the radiations into the Earth's atmosphere can be minimized, and the Earth will trap the less radiations, IR radiations, and it will become the suitable for the living organism to survive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a nice and wonderful presentation. I would like to invite all the participants, if you have any query or you can ask questions to MD sir directly. And Manchala, please be ready to start your presentation. If you are comfortable to share from your side, so please start, and should I share from my side, so please update me. Manchala Usmania, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
So should I share a slide from my side?
I
Are you trying?
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
trying?
Yes, ma'am. Is it visible for you, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Myself, Usmonika. I'm studying 3rd BTech ECE in Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, Tirupati. Today, my topic was the role of artificial intelligence and automation in agriculture industry. And I think it was helpful. It helps to achieve green environment. And first of all, we should know about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is based on the principle that human intelligence can be defined in a way that a machine can easily mimic it and execute tasks from the simple manner, even though they are very more complex. And the goals of artificial intelligence include learning, reasoning, and perception. Agriculture and farming are one of the oldest and most important professions in the world. It plays an important role in the economic sector. Worldwide agriculture is a $5 trillion industry. Nowadays, the world population is increasing, so that we are insufficient with the natural sources like land, water, and food. Etc. Like that. So we need to move forward so that we need to move in a smarter approach and become more efficient about how we farm, and we can and how we can be most productive. So that, like here we can see that life cycle of agriculture: preparation of soil, sowing of seeds, adding fertilizers, irrigation, weed protection, harvesting, storage, etc. These 7 steps are major steps in agriculture. And here we can see about the preparation of soil. It is the initial stage of farming where farmers prepare the soil for sowing seeds. And sowing of seeds, it requires a lot of care, and experience, adding fertilizers is nothing but to maintain soil fertility is an important factor. So the farmer can continue to grow nutritious crops and healthy. Irrigation is nothing but to maintain humidity level in the soil. Weed production, weed is nothing but an unwanted plant can grow in our crop so that we can remove. And harvesting, it is the process of gathering ripe crops from the fields. Storage is it is a post-harvest system during which the products are kept in such a way to guarantee food security other than during periods of agriculture. This is the traditional method. So our farmers are facing a lot of problems with this traditional method. So that we can overcome it with an artificial. In farming, climate, there are challenges faced by farmers. In those, I mentioned some of them. Climatic factors such as rainfall, temperature, and humidity play an important role. And every crop requires specific nutrition in the soil. There are three main nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So with the artificial intelligence, it is making a revolution in agriculture by replacing traditional methods, by using more efficient methods and helping the world to become a better place. Here, I mentioned some of the applications of artificial intelligence in agriculture. They are use of weather forecasting, soil and crop health monitoring system, analyzing crop health by drones, precision farming and predictive analytics, agricultural robotics, and AI-enabled system to detect pests. And I mentioned some pictures in this applications of artificial intelligence in agriculture. And here, and in this, my conclusion is artificial intelligence in agriculture not only helping farmers to automate their farming, but also shifts to precise cultivation for higher crop yield and better quality while using fewer resources. In our country, only few farmers are using artificial intelligence. In my perspective, the village members doesn't know about these things, and if our government is willing to provide these equipment for village farmers, it will be more effective to the farmers to get best crop, and it will gives a lot of it gives a lot of knowledge to the farmers how we can get more crop, like more yielding, like that. So I need we are all I think we are going to help with the farmers this artificial intelligence, our surroundings, so they can easily survive with artificial intelligence. And thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I would like to invite Devalina. Devalina, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, ma'am, please start your presentation.
Okay, ma'am, can you present my slides from your side?
Okay. Please give me a minute.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, I'm sharing.
Ma'am, this is Dipanita Mondal.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm ready from my side. Next.
Yes, ma'am, it's okay. So should I start, ma'am?
Yes,
Yeah.
please continue.
So good afternoon, everyone. Hope to find you all in good health. Myself, Debulina Mukherjee, first year student of MSc in Zoology at West Bengal State University. Today, I'm going to present a paper entitled Study on the Possible Involvement of Strigolactone in the Salinity Stress Responses in Brassica juncea. So let's start with the presentation. At first, we have to know what is strigolactone. Basically, strigolactones are a class of carotenoid-derived phytohormones which control different aspects of plant development like shoot branch inhibition and root architecture. They can also act as a positive regulator of salinity and drought stresses in Arabidopsis thaliana. Here in this slide, I have shown the chemical structure of strigolactone being enol ether, bearing enol ether part as well. Next slide. In this work, Brassica juncea will be used as the study plant since it's a member of and is a very important crop for India. This slide represents the appearance of a full-grown Brassica juncea. Next slide. Now let's come to the point of interaction between strigolactone and several phytohormones. Strigolactone signals triggered in the root causes parasitic weed seed germination and also promotes branching in AM fungi. They interact with other hormones like ABA, cytokinin, and ethylene to control the adaptation of plants to abiotic stresses. However, the detailed molecular mechanism remains elusive. Here in the given image, the roles of strigolactone on leaf development, next slide, and senescence, plant disease, and drought tolerance, adventitious root formation and bud or branch development, root development and architecture, arbuscular mycorrhizal association and nodule formation, seed germination in root plastic plants, phytomorphosis and seeding development, internode elongation and secondary growth in stem are mentioned pictorially. Next slide. Here I have just briefly delivered the emerging roles of strigolactones in plant responses to stress and development via delineating the signaling pathway. Next slide. Now the workflow is described. So here, first of all, Brassica juncea plants will be grown in plant growth chamber or greenhouse in the hydroponics or soil right and will be subjected to 150 millimolar NaCl stress. Then after 21 days, the total mRNA from both root and leaf of the treatment and control plants will be isolated. After that, real-time RT-qPCR primers will be designed for the SL biosynthetic and signaling genes in the Brassica juncea, which are mentioned as MAX1, MAX3, CD7, MAX4, CCD8 biosynthetic, and MAX2 with BRC1 signaling molecules. Now, finally, the mRNA will be converted to cDNA and the mRNA expression levels of the mentioned genes will be checked using QRT-PCR with the designed primers. Next slide. Here comes the result section, study of the expression levels of the strigolactone biosynthetic and signaling genes in root and leaves of Brassica juncea under salinity stress will reveal a possible role of strigolactone pathway in salt stress responses. The provided image shows concentration of strigolactone in roots against various marker molecules as well as phytohormones. Next. So ultimately, after having an idea regarding this work, we can project some future objectives. In future, I will obviously try to work out if there is any direct molecular crosstalk between abiotic stress response, responsive strigolactone signaling pathway and the signaling pathway of noted stress responsive genes like HKT1, CBL10, OST1, NHX1, etc. to propound an integrated salinity stress responsive pathway. This will definitely help in genetic engineering of many economically important crops. Next slide. In the concluding part, I would like to express my special thanks of gratitude to the organizing authority Saksham for providing me with this great opportunity to present my paper in this international conference. And I also feel extremely happy for being able to successfully deliver my paper work in front of such respected delegates. So stay safe and healthy. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for such a nice and wonderful presentation. So,
thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. So, dear participants, due to some technical error, Dr. Okusudo is not able to join us as a chief guest. So, the session is going to closing now. And if you have any questions, so you can discuss, or if any participants want to share opinion on way to achieve green environment. So this session is open for all.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
I'm Dipanita Mondal. If you could read the chat box, I am ready with my presentation. Do you think you can invite me now?
Yes, ma'am. If you are ready, so please continue.
Okay, ma'am. So I would like to share my screen, ma'am. If you just give me the permission, allow
Yes,
me.
yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, yes. Please,
Thank you.
please do.
Thank you so much. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's visible.
Right. Thank you very much. So at the onset, I would like to wish a very, very good afternoon to all of you present here today. And of course, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me opportunity to present my valuable experience today. So if you look at my presentation, I think I'll minimize, right? So if you can see my first slide, you will see that I am Dipanita Mondal, the HOD English Department of DPSG International. And many of you might be wondering, what is an English teacher doing where probably we have such esteemed scientists and researchers? So, well, my dear friends, I would like to share with me a very, very precious experience of how some adults in our society and the children, we have been trying to do some work regarding noise pollution. So that takes me to my second presentation, an initiative by children in Pratik Laurel Society, Sector 120, Noida. And when we believed we can change. And the question here lies in the fact that what did we really want to change and why? Okay, so I will talk of a time way back in 2017 where we have a very, very huge society of approximately 1,500 residential flats and nearly 1,800 people staying here. But there were persistent complaints pertaining to noise pollution in areas regarding the terrible sound of grass cutters, which were used anywhere and everywhere in the society lawns. Then there was loud music coming from many flats at any point of time. And of course, very loud music and bhajans, etc. from the society temple. Next, we also had a lot of noise due to construction of a road by the sound of the society and endless renovation work going on in many, many flats. And also, sadly enough, there were lots of unattended pet dogs in houses where both the family members and the children would also go for work or for school. And of course, there were loud honking from vehicles, both inside and outside the society. Now, my dear listeners, you might feel that these are all very, very common problems that are faced in our society and in our country. But believe me, there were lots of complaints coming from old people in the society, people who suffer from hypertension, from dementia, and maybe they have some kind of psychological dysfunctioning. And very interestingly, from students as well, who were probably not able to concentrate on their studies, prepare for their examinations. And of course, all of us know how irritating, unneeded sounds can be at some point of time or the other. So it was in one of the holy get-togethers, like 2-3 adults and many children, because I have been a teacher for almost 22 years and they do know me as a teacher in the society. And we were discussing that how people were suffering and nothing much was being done by the Residential Welfare Society, even though they wanted to help us. So Then the movement was very interestingly initiated by the children of the society. And we three adults really were there to give them suggestions. So as we read in the international journals also, that there should be no hostility. There should be no hostility, there should be no fights or quarrels when we try to appeal to people to change their ways. Because if any one child, or maybe a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old child or a group of children would probably go to the adults, they would be outrightly said that, you know, this is how things are, and they should not try to say anything. So the children, I had tried to divide the things that we did in the pre-pandemic times. So there were door-to-door campaigns to stop domestic aggravated noise. And believe me, children, even small children, as small as 6-year, 7-year, 10-year-olds, they made small placard and wrote, "Dear uncle, please listen to us. Dear auntie, please listen to us. Or bhaiya, please don't play the loud music." So with this kind of small placards and appeals, they went from one tower to the next on Saturdays or Sundays in evenings in very small groups, 2 or 3. And believe me, people were really, really moved by their appeals. Next, children gave a written simple appeal to the Residential Welfare Association under our guidance. And all children and the youth, this is pre-pandemic, if you can see from my slide, we organized on-the-spot painting and poster making competition. And as you know, these are the activities in which all children like to participate. They participate and their parents also came in. And they were organized, remember, way back in 2017 and 18 and 19 on Independence Day and Republic Day, wherein the society in itself, they were, organizing different activities. And children wrote poems and also slogans on the theme. And always there were a lot of, awareness created. And we tried telling the people that, of course, you cannot make the society a zero noise or a zero sound zone, but of course, changes can be made. And then, inspired by children and persistent requests made, many ladies in the society sang bhajans in the temple instead of loudspeakers being played. And I'm very happy to share with you, friends, that today loudspeakers for temple in our society, totally that has been discontinued. And music on occasion of Diwali Mela and Holi, it is played at a very, very reasonable volume, because it is the children who will first run to the one who is playing the a loudspeaker and be saying, "Uncle, bhaiya, thoda volume kam kar dijiye. There is an old auntie staying in that house and she is suffering." So, and it's just for an hour. So unimaginable work done by children to contribute to, reducing noise pollution. Then during the pandemic, which was an exceptionally challenging and difficult times, of course, I don't know the way it was, as you all know, the noise, it came down, on its own quite a lot. But still, children were connecting to each other. They were connecting to some houses through intercom calls. And we arranged for some Zoom meetings, because mind you again, children, my dear friends, the children are very, very smart at technology. So I believe they started using Zoom and Microsoft Teams even before many adults learned to do so. Through Zoom meetings within small circles, they were again talking of all kinds of pollution, not just noise pollutions. Okay, and there are eminent senior citizens in the society. They were also invited to talk, so that during the pandemic, during the boring hours of the lockdown, they also felt appreciated that they could talk on this. And we had some online activities like quizzes and things like that. And of course, children, with the help of their parents, they had, sent a mail to the district magistrate also, and they had written to some other people also so that the noise of honking could be reduced. That was very, very disturbing. And we have a hospital, 2-3 hospitals nearby also, and repeatedly appeals were made to the Resident Welfare Association to reduce the noise through different circulars. Okay, so I believe I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Saksham Society to give me this opportunity to share what the very young ones are doing, because I personally believe that, you know, big changes in our society, they come from, you know, what we are doing, what the children are doing. As a saying goes, that if small steps are taken, then big things can take care of themselves. And now, just as we are hopefully, with God's grace, we totally come out of the pandemic situation, I believe many more parents have expressed their willingness to help these children and take them wherever they want to, or do whatever they want, so that noise pollution can be controlled, more awareness programs can be launched. And last but not the least, we are not talking only of noise pollutions in our small meetings, but to control pollution at large. Thank you and namaskar to all of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a nice and wonderful presentation. So now I would like to invite our president, Mr. Rajendra Kumar Singh, for a vote of thanks. So please, over to you.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My heartily thanks to Dr. Aparna Parikh, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Rajasthan University, Jaipur, for her research paper. My special thanks to all the guest speakers who spoke on various topics regarding the plant genome, conservation of plants, etc. And in the last, the topic was noise pollution. Though it is not related to the green field, but it is the concern for today, noise problems in our society. All the participants and guest speakers elaborately explained the needs of conservation of plants which are under extinction. And these plants are very important for the conserving them by the government, general public, and the society, because they give so many types of drugs and chemicals and pharmaceuticals which are good for our health and for good for our economy, as well the economy of the general public, which will help them uplifting their life. So government and all societies should come together and work to preserving these type of plants which are being extincted, and they should be preserved, and special attention should be given on these plants. And in the same environmental conditions, we come to know the agriculture intelligence, artificial intelligence in agriculture. That was also very interesting, and I think it will be the future one of the best topic for improving our agricultural yield and to increase the income of the farmers, as the government is going to increase the farmers' income twice. So it will help them. So I think it is very good and it can be applied everywhere and can yield so many times the production of the crops and other things. And once again, I thank each and everybody, and my special thanks to Saksham Society team who work hard to make this conference successful. Thank you all and have a good day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir. And dear participants, I already shared the e-certificate and feedback link in the chat box. So you can check chat box to fill the form. I am sharing with you all again. Okay, thank you so much to all for being with us.